good, people? What's up? What's up? Um, Listen, this is my review for the Clark Sisters movie, and talk why I can't remember I don't have no notes or nothing because I can go off the dome, but I'll put the title up here somewhere. I think it's First Ladies of Gospel or something like that on Lifetime. So I have a lot of thoughts because yours truly, hello, I grew up Kojic. For those people who don't know what Kojic means, it's an acronym COGIC, which stands for Church of God in Christ, or Churches of God in Christ. It's a denomination under the Pentecostal umbrella. Church of God in Christ is, for those people who just don't know, just a little bit of rich history. There's no gospel music without Church of God in Christ. Let's be honest. What you all know to be mainstream gospel, some of the biggest, most iconic gospel acts, groups, solo artists have their roots and come from Kojic. And then it wasn't, and what I'm talking about, if you go way back, and then it wasn't until later on that Baptist churches and choirs start to adopt some of what Kojic was doing, and then you start to see more artists come out of those denominations, but it was Kojic. So anyway, let's delve right into the movie. What I liked about the movie first is they got a lot of things right. I would say about 90% they were accurate on, because it is a Lifetime movie, and they start you off by saying this is not a documentary, this is a movie based on a true story. They can embellish and they can take some, luxuries with the story, but they did keep a lot of it right. So let's get down to it. So that's the first thing that I liked, that they did keep a lot of the stuff intact. Couple things, well, and let me also talk about this. Listen, Shalia, I love me some Shalia, and if you don't know who Shalia is the actress who played Dorinda. Shalia, she's a singer. She done sang she was background singer for Stevie and Brian McKnight, and I think Vanessa Williams. She done sang with and for a lot of people, so she can sing. I think that woman's voice was way too strong. No flack to Dorinda. She do her little thing, but Shalia is a much better singer than Dorinda, so she made Dorinda's voice as a singer stand out. And that doggone Anjanou Ellis, shout out to my Delta girl Anjanou Ellis, Crimson and Cream Love. She's one more good member of Delta Sigma Theta. She played that Mother Mattie Moss Clark. Now that woman played Mother Mattie Moss Clark. One of my biggest takeaways from the movie is this. I feel like, hold on. Excuse me, I had to sneeze. That's not coronavirus. Anyway, I felt like the movie was more of a biopic of Mother Mattie Moss Clark than it was the Clark sisters. Because you can't tell the story of Mother Mattie Moss Clark without them being an intricate part of it. The only thing they would have needed to do was give you the backstory of Mother Mattie Moss Clark more. But the movie was more about Mother Mattie Moss Clark than it was about the Clark sisters. And to me, if you are going to tell the story of the Clark sisters, you need to tell the story of Twinkie. That's who headlines a movie about the Clark sisters. It's Twinkie. It's her. The Clark sisters is Twinkie. They did give you little glimpses of what Twinkie went through, having to travel with Mother Mattie Moss Clark. I mean, they went back to the days of UNEC, which was a gospel music conference that we would do in Kojic, and talking about how Mother Mattie Moss Clark used to drag Twinkie everywhere. Now, and let me start by saying allegedly. But those of us who know that these things aren't allegedly. A lot of people always ask, why was it Twinkie that Mattie took around? There are a lot of stories behind that. Um, Twinkie was always the biggest of the girls. She was always the most heavyset. Um, they were all big at one point, except for Dorinda. Dorinda's always been a small girl. She's always been smaller. She's always been, pretty, the small one. But the rest of them were big. And of the big girls, Twinkie was always the biggest. Twinkie had the gap in her mouth. And the story goes that Mattie felt like, because Twinkie was as big as she was, and she wasn't the prettiest of the girls, that she wanted Twinkie to be the talented one so she could have something to lay her head on, or something of substance that would have her, that would make her, you know what I'm saying, be earn sustenance and make a living and make a name for herself. So she could, Mother Mattie Moss Clark could play the organ a little, but not as well as some of the people who Mother Mattie Moss Clark had Twinkie work with. She had Twinkie work with some of the greats on that Hammond organ that Twinkie plays, and the Hammond organ is a staple in Kojic church. You don't go to a Kojic church and they don't have a Hammond organ. If it's a Kojic church and they ain't got no Hammond organ, walk out of that Kojic church. Anyway, Twinkie became, after all of that traveling from, like she said, the age of 9 with her mom, practicing, playing, play this, play that, she is legendary on that organ. So much so the company itself has put her in their Hall of Fame for that organ. She, even in the music world, you talk about organ playing, she's one of the go-to people that people will talk about. Anyway, I'm going too long on that. But like I said, the story of the Clark sisters is the story of Twinkie. Because remember, Twinkie did all of the writing. Twinkie wrote all of the songs. Mother Mattie Moss Clark, usually, even on the old albums back in the 70s and things, she might have 1 or 2 songs on there. The rest of the songs Twinkie wrote. Twinkie wrote a lot of stuff that Mother Mattie Moss Clark used to bring to different workshops and stuff as well, for different choirs and things like that. And Twinkie was the singer. Twinkie and Karen were the 2 singers. They were the real singers. Even Karen will tell you, when she was real young, she would bounce off of Twinkie, and a lot of her riffs and runs and stuff like that, she would take what Twinkie would do and then do a little more with it. So even Karen got her foundation from Twinkie. Karen was a soprano, Twinkie was an alto, but Mother Mattie Moss Clark, because she knew Twinkie's range, Twinkie had a good full range, she would make Twinkie sing the bottom, because she knew Dorinda doesn't have a good range like that. Neither does Jackie. Jackie's range and Dorinda's range is not large. Karen has a range, but Karen can't go that low. Dorinda had enough range where she could get to the soprano notes and she could get down to the tenor notes. So Twinkie sang the bottom all the time. Anyway, some things that I thought that they should have done better. I really felt like Kiera, I will say this until I go on to glory, Kiera should have played Twinkie. Kiera should not have played her mom. If you listen to, there were times in the movie where Kiera was singing as Karen, and that wasn't her voice. That was actually Karen's voice singing the part, because Kiera does not have the range of Karen. Kiera is not a soprano like her mom. So Kiera can't get up there and have that same timbre of voice like her mom. I noticed it from the Jump Street. The very first time they sang, and there were certain parts that you heard Karen spotlight, I said, oh, that's not Kiera, that's Karen. And what I heard, well, it wasn't even old Karen recording. It was today's Karen that probably went in the studio and did overdubs or so forth for it. But because if you go real Kojic and real gospel, Karen's voice back then in the 70s and 80s before she got pregnant is very different from Karen's voice after she got pregnant. Her voice was a lot more full. It wasn't she was still soprano, but there was a fullness to her voice after she had her kids. It took a little off of it. It was still there, but it took a little of that fullness off of her voice. And a lot of women who sing will tell you that when you have your first child, it does change your voice a little. A lot of women who sing will tell you that. And you know, after the surgery, her voice really took a toll after the surgery. So some of the things in the movies that, but I think that Kiera should have played her because Kiera's vocal range is closer to Twinkie. Kiera looks more like Twinkie than she does like her mom. And Kiera, I think that they highlighted a lot of the a lot of the Karen scenes because Kiera was playing Karen. And Kiera is a bigger star than the rest of the ladies. And had they had Kiera playing Twinkie, they would have given us more of the Twinkie story. We needed to know how Twinkie felt. We needed to see Twinkie failing out of school because she wasn't going. We needed to see when Mother Mattie Moss Clark would go to different places and it was always Twinkie do this, Twinkie do that. We needed, and we saw a little bit of it, but we didn't see it. We needed to see Twinkie practicing the sisters over and over and over. Yeah, they talked about Mother Mattie Moss Clark practicing them, but Twinkie practiced them and Twinkie taught them their parts. And Twinkie, Mother Mattie Moss Clark would come out and say, okay, yeah, y'all need to make that sound this way, make that sound this way, but Twinkie taught everything. You know, I think we needed more of that to really give the story of how Twinkie did end up, you know, losing it. They didn't give you a good transition from from when Twinkie got married to when Mother Mattie Moss Clark died to when Twinkie kind of, you know, lost it. And it was too much of a gap, and you can't tell the story of the Clark sisters without doing that. You needed to tell the story of Kojic at that time, because I saw a lot of people in comments on Twitter and things like that talking about why Mother Mattie Moss Clark had a problem when Denise walked up with the pants. This is Kojic. This is Kojic back in the 70s and 80s and even early 90s where they didn't play that mess. You won't wear no pants. You won't wear no makeup. You won't wear no earrings. You won't wear no perfume. You won't wear all that in no Kojic church. And Mother Mattie Moss Clark is old school Kojic where they didn't play that mess. So but I think my point is they needed to show the dynamic that even in the Kojic church there was an agenda. There was an agenda. And part of that, and Mother Mattie Moss Clark was as Kojic as it comes, which is why, remember I told you at the beginning, she brought Twinkie with her because she just didn't feel that Twinkie was the most attractive of the girls. And Kojic, yeah, they didn't want you to wear makeup, yeah, they didn't want you to wear that, but Kojic was still about a look. They wanted you to look good still, but still keep it Kojic. And I bring that up to bring up the fact that there was the Clark sisters and Pace sisters dilemma in Kojic as well. Because if anybody knows, the Pace sisters sing just as well, and some would argue better than the Clark sisters. But the Pace sisters were the dark girls. The Clark sisters were the light girls. And there's the whole dynamic with Mother Mattie Moss Clark and how she even became to be the international president of the choir, international choir president and so forth like that, because her father and stuff are big in the music industry. So she goes way back in music and stuff like that. But just the fact that Mother Mattie Moss Clark was the light, there's the whole colorism argument that's made in Kojic about anointed Pace sisters versus the Clark sisters, and the fact that the Pace sisters, who weren't the prettiest girls, they ended up becoming recording artists and doing great. And you know, everybody knows Sean Pace But and you know, people are learning about Denise and all the other Pace sisters, but back in those days, people saw for the Clark sisters on a more mainstream level. People saw for the Pace sisters in the more church level. And so, but taking nothing against either one of them, because both groups are great at what they did. I like that they showed that Mother Mattie Moss Clark had to go before the board, and they was gonna sit her down. That is a part of Kojic. Kojic will sit you down for anything and say, "Yeah, sit on down. You ain't doing that no more." After one misstep, I think the Denise dynamic when she was a child was over dramatized a little bit, but not too much. But I do think it was over dramatized. Um, Twinkie loved her sister. Denise, and that I'm glad they showed that in the movie. Twinkie and Denise were close. Um, the fact that Mother Mattie Moss Clark still loved her daughter Denise even after the babies. Because remember, after the first child, Mother Mattie Moss Clark then kicked Denise out after she had that first child. Denise came. They showed her the movie where she said, "What they got to do with you putting on this dress? You put on this dress, you go back out there." So she still traveled and sang with the group even after she had that first child. So it wasn't like Mother Mattie Mouse Clark was like, "Oh, I don't like you no more because you got pregnant." She loved her daughter. Um, they did over dramatize the scene at Mother Mattie Moss Clark funeral. I wish they would have shown more of that lady's funeral, because baby, that was a concert of concerts they had at that woman's funeral. Okay. Some other scenes. Y'all saw how they washed over the scene with Karen having the surgery. They ain't even tell y'all this lap band surgery. Was it lap band or staples? Whatever. She was having bariatric surgery. And the thing about it is, it wasn't the first one, so that's why there were complications. Anyway, they did give you Dorinda Clark when she tried to kill herself. Now, one part that I'm glad they stayed true to, they had to stay true to Mother Mattie Moss Clark throwing shoes. That woman was legendary for throwing the shoe. Legendary. Now, if you go back in Kojic circles, baby, you knew Mama Girl was gonna throw a shoe. That is real. Now, that was not over dramatized. Baby, that was real. Real. For real. And they ain't play by, she ain't play about that gum either. She ain't play about that gum. Had put a piece of napkin in front of you. Gum. They ain't play about. But I think they needed to talk. You know, some things were highlighted. You know, Mother Mattie Moss Clark was one of the orchestrators and was legendary for the 3-part harmony that she was very instrumental in gospel choirs, the harmonies that the 3-part harmony gospel choirs would have in gospel arenas, whereas in a lot of in the black gospel arena, whereas in the Christian gospel and so forth, Christian arena, when they had choir, they sang the 4-part, the soprano, alto, tenor, bass. But in gospel, it was soprano, alto, tenor. More so, and those kinds of 3-part harmonies and things like that, and the things that she would do with the choir. And she meant that. That follow my hands, she meant that, because that was a good shoe. If she felt like you wasn't following them hands, a shoe was going to go, and that would make you put your eyes on her. If she felt like you wasn't hitting a note, a shoe was coming. Baby, she was legendary for them shoes, baby. Or whatever she could pick up sometimes. So those things, I thought that, and I know they only had a 2.5 hours, I guess, for the movie, but you know, certain things I think needed to be highlighted more. Yeah, but overall, I thought it was a good movie. If I'm going to give it a grade, I give it a B plus. I give the movie a B plus. I thought it was really good, but I would be on this video way too long to give you all of the behind this, you know, the underworkings, the stories behind the stories and so forth. It's all there if you really want to pry, and maybe we'll do it as a live one day if y'all press me enough. But I really thought it was a good movie. I do think you should go and watch it because I thought it was good. Yeah. I find it funny that they talked about Denise being pregnant. But if you remember, it was during the 80s also that Karen got pregnant. Remember, Karen had her son in what, 87? Her oldest son was born in 87. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, people are talking about the fact that Denise was not a Clark. She wasn't. Her last name was, well, I think, Cullum. But Denise was still a Moss. And remember, Moss is where the music was ingrained. Yeah, they are the Clark sisters, but that family history comes from the Moss lineage, which Mother Mattie Moss Clark was. Mother Mattie Moss was a Moss. You got to go back to who her father was and all the stuff that her father did in music, in gospel music. Some people don't even know that J. Moss is connected to the Moss family. He is in the Moss family. They're all Mosses, and that's where the music comes from. The Moss. Yes, they are the Clark sisters, but the Moss lineage is where that music background comes from. That's a whole nother part that they ain't tell. Oh, one more part I wanted to highlight now, and I'm gonna say this, and this is where it's gonna get a little not so nice. Now, the part where Mother Mattie Moss Clark was a victim of domestic violence, that was a real thing back in the day. Women, especially in Kojic sects, were taught to be subservient to your husband. Your husband was he was the law. And sometimes they even told you, if you got beat, what did you do to cause yourself to get beat? Was how the conversation went. So it's interesting that they showed that, and that Mother Mattie Moss Clark didn't bat an eye. You know, she didn't leave him after that part. She left him after he, you know, because what he did to Denise, not because of the beating part. And so that dynamic, like I said, we talk about this so much because we live in this 21st century time period, but life and things were a lot different back then. And so I'm not saying it should have been accepted. I'm not saying that everybody accepted it, but these were things that happened and were accepted. So that was an interesting part there too. Yeah. So I enjoyed the movie. I hope you all enjoyed the movie. Yeah. I really enjoy. I wanted to hear more of the music, but we all know why some of the older music couldn't be played because of that. You know what Twinkie did with the catalog, and they probably didn't want to pay all them rights. But if you look at some of the more famous Clark sister songs, they came after she sold the royalties and stuff, the catalog, and so that Twinkie went on a writing spree after that to make more music. So a lot of the stuff that people like and know them for came after that, so they still have that stuff. But yeah, the reach that the Clark sisters have is so far reaching. I mean, if you are a child that grew up in church and your parents made you listen to gospel music in the 80s and or early 90s, there are a couple family names you knew Clark family names, and interesting enough, those families are close. The Winans family and the Clark families are very close. They both are from Detroit. They grew up together. They're all the same age. They grew up together, went to school together and stuff like that. And it's so funny that those two iconic gospel families, you know, grew up together. Now those are names that you know. Question for you, this, and I'm gonna leave y'all with this. Put this in the comment section. Here's an argument we can have in the comment section. Which family had more of an impact on music in general? Who has had the bigger impact on music? The Moss, I'm gonna say the Moss Clark family or the Winans family? There's an argument or a debate we can have in the comment section. Y'all let me know what y'all think. That's what I have for y'all. That was the movie. It was great. I hope you liked it. I hope you liked this review. That's all I got for y'all. Until next time, that's all I got. Thank y'all for coming. Y'all drive safely.